Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. En esta oportunidad les estoy grabando la clase debido a que sé que por algunos inconvenientes de horario, algunos de ustedes no han podido conectarse, también por el hecho de que pues para estas fechas ya estamos en épocas de vacaciones. Así que guys, yo les voy a grabar la clase para que puedan revisarla en nuestro canal de YouTube, en este canal. Y pues para que igual puedan tener un refuerzo para completar las actividades en la plataforma. Okay, so let's start with our class. It'll be kind of short, everybody. So let's go into our business. So right now, everybody, let me share my screen with you. As you can see in this opportunity, we are talking about the first conditional. Remember that in English, there are different conditionals. We have the zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, and also the third conditional. First conditional, well, as you can see, in this opportunity, we are going to talk about this. And when we use the first conditional, it is very common that we use the auxiliary will as we use it in future tenses. But also in this opportunity, we are going to use and check some examples using may and might. Okay, to start with the first conditional, let's see a short definition of this tense or this grammar, sorry. We use the first conditional when we talk about future situations we believe are real or possible. As you can see over here, there are some examples talking about some situations that, well, they can be true, okay? For example, if we go to Africa, sorry, we will go on safari, okay? This is an example, and as you see, this sentence is divided into two parts. The first part of the sentence is an if clause. If plus simple present. As you can see in that part of the sentence, it says, if we go to Africa. So we use the grammar, or we use the simple present well, we use this part of the sentence, this clause, as if it was a simple present sentence. So we follow all the rules as it should be in simple present. Okay, if we go to Africa, then we have the main clause. The main clause is a sentence in which we have to use will. We will go on safari. If we go to Africa, we will go on safari. Something important that we also have to take into account are two things. First of all, the action. The action is the simple present part of the sentence, or the if clause. And then the result. What will be the result if something happened, or if I do something? So as you see, we can divide the sentences grammatically into the if clause and the main clause. Then in simple words, the action and the result. Another important thing you have to take into account is the use of comma. Okay, so that is something important related to punctuation, and it's the use of comma when we use the action first and then the result. Let's move on to the next part of the first conditional. As you see, we are talking about future situations that we believe or we think are real or possible. The order of the clauses doesn't change the meaning. As you can see in these examples, well, we have the same idea in the two sentences, and both have the same meaning. First sentence says, if it rains, I won't go outside. So that's something I consider is possible. If it rains, I won't go outside because I don't like to be wet. Then, as you see in the second sentence, we use the same idea, but in a different order. I won't go outside if it rains. When the result comes first, we don't use a comma, okay? This is something we also have to pay attention to, and it's the use of commas. When we have first the action and then the result, we need to use a comma between the two clauses, the if clause and the main clause. On the other hand, when we have the result first and then we have the action, well, in that case, we don't use a comma, okay? As you can see in these examples, even though they have a different order, they have the same meaning, okay? And, well, the result is always the same, and the main clause is always the same. Give me a second, Erin. Okay, we can continue with our class. Now, these are some examples using the modal verbs. As you can see, this is the same structure of the first conditional. Remember that we are talking about future situations that are real, or they can be real, or they are possible, okay? There is always a possibility that these things can happen. As you can see, the first sentence is using a modal verb. Now we are not using will, even though that is the common structure that we use in the first conditional, okay? Remember that in zero conditional, we always use simple present plus simple present, okay? The if clause uses simple present, the main clause uses simple present. Now, in first conditional, it is common or usual that we use in the main clause we use will, and in the if clause we use simple present, or on the other way around, we use simple present in the if clause, and then in the result we use, or in the main clause we use will. But now we are using other modal verbs that also talk about possibility or probability that something can happen, or that something is possible. If I exercise more, I might lose weight. That's one example that it's real, okay? Or there is a possibility that something will happen. If I exercise more, I might lose weight, okay? So you know that first you make an action, or you take an action, then you have a result, okay? All the things you do will have a result. It can be sometimes positive, sometimes negative. But in this case, we are talking about results that are possible or real. If I exercise more, I might lose weight. And we divided this sentence into three parts. First, the if clause, okay? If plus simple present, which is something common in the first conditional. Then we have, instead of using will, we are using may or might. Remember that these models express probability or possibility. Then we have a verb in base form and the complement, as you know. Okay, if I exercise more, I might lose weight. Okay, this is something possible and real. Okay, now let's check some other examples using the modal verbs. In this opportunity, again, we are using the modals for probability. If I practice English, I may improve my pronunciation. Okay, this is something for real. Maybe you feel that learning English sometimes is difficult or sometimes is confusing. And well, you are right. In some cases, it's difficult to learn English or to practice English. Some other times, it is difficult to, well, it is confusing to understand some uses of grammar tenses, but this is something that you have to take into account. If we practice English, we may improve our pronunciation, okay? That's something that will happen. At the beginning, when we start learning English, maybe it is difficult for us to remember the pronunciation of some words. Maybe it is difficult to improve our fluency or to keep the same pace during our speaking all the time. But as you can see, if you practice, you may improve your pronunciation. You may improve your fluency, okay? In this example, I just focused on, well, your pronunciation. However, you know that if you practice English, you will improve in different areas on your language skills. So right now, everybody remember practice, okay? Even though it's difficult, even though there are some things that sometimes are confusing, practice, okay? Remember, practice makes perfect. Then, guys, we have another example using the modals. You might wash the dishes if I cook dinner tonight, okay? It sounds more like an agreement that you have at home. However, guys, it's a possibility, okay? If I cook dinner tonight, you might wash the dishes, okay? Sounds like an agreement? Yes. But, well, in this case, we are talking about real things and possible things. So maybe with if you have brothers or sisters, sometimes you make this kind of agreements with them, and one person cooks, the other person washes, okay? This is something possible. I have both. I have a brother and I have a sister, and I remember we used to make this kind of decisions, okay? So please, everybody, remember, first conditional is always talking about real and possible things, of course, for future situations, right? But now, okay, we are also learning not only the use of will in the first conditional, but also we are learning the use of might and may. Remember, we use the same structure. The only difference is that instead of using will, we are going to use a modal for probability, okay? May and might, that's their main use to talk about probability and possibility. So everybody, let's continue practicing. In this moment, I would like to show you an activity that maybe you have some time to practice, okay? You can watch the video and pause it as much time as you consider that you need, okay? For example, in this part, you can see in one part, in one side, you can see the if clauses. Then on the other side, you can see the results. For example, if you put the light on, what will happen or what will be the result? Think about that. If you put the light on, okay, if you put the light on, I think you'll see better. That's the result. You'll see better, okay? If you turn on the electric heater, what will happen? You'll feel warmer. That's right. If you have something to eat, you won't be hungry. Okay, letter E, you won't be hungry. As you see, the sentences or the main clause can be using will in affirmative or in negative. Next example, number 4. If you go to bed earlier, you'll feel better in the morning. Letter G, that's right. Next one. If you take an umbrella today, Yes, it's letter H. You won't get wet. Number 6 is if you ask the teacher about the grammar you don't understand. Letter C, you'll pass the exam. Nice job. Number 7, if you use a map. Letter D, you won't get lost. Okay, let's finish with the most difficult example, the last one. Number 8, if you buy a cat or a dog. Nice. Okay, you won't feel lonely. Okay, those are the results. As you see, if it's an action, a will, want is the result. Okay, everybody, I hope this video helps you understand a little bit better the first conditional. And also, if you have questions, you can ask me on the WhatsApp group, or you can check on the grammar on the Speak platform. I hope everybody, it helps you a lot. And well, guys, continue practicing. Remember, do your best and continue working hard.